Evening all. Some technical difficulties which may have got to the bottom of, and hopefully this is all okay. Yeah, so this is all working fine by the looks of things. Give me a shout if you're out there. Wait for a few minutes before we get going, and then we'll start looking through the old Eclipse 4, which is rather exciting. So I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes, since I've just been a little bit late on the start, and then we'll crack on and get going. So give me 2 seconds. Best laid plans and all that, and wanted to do a few bits and pieces, but YouTube Live was playing up, which was very annoying. But managed to get to the bottom of it and get all things going. Excuse me, I'm just getting a few odds and sods out here that I want to talk to you about. Hi Mark, welcome along. I thought I would obviously be amiss of me not to have the Eclipse 3 here and talk about the variations. Obviously, as we all know, it's no surprise, it's the sort of standard Schumacher packaging. You know, I spoke about this if you caught my video on the X12 and the E3. I don't know if you saw that clip about the packaging. I'm kind of into that. I like the shiny bits, and I think it's an important part of the packaging. Listen, it's a robust box. If you were lucky enough to listen to Steve Donald on the other side, he spoke about the box being robust, and I think that's really quite important. You can, you know, I think we live out of the box to start with, don't we? When we get a new car, we chuck all the spare bits in there, and it's good to have it as a robust box. Anyway, going on about the box, people have not tuned in for the box. So the mass damper. This is another component that is new to the Eclipse 4. I'm not sure how much has been spoken about that. I know Andy obviously did a video on the Schumacher website talking about that. I'll open one of those out and I'll talk to you about that as well. Just a few shout outs. Mark Broughton Young, nice to have you along. Mardave Racing, glad that you finally find the channel. Ludus, hi there, welcome back. Mark Mass Dampers, modding it already. And Michael Wolf, hi to you. Well, modding it, not really modding it. It's a tuning aid, so it's all part of the package of the Eclipse. So what I'm going to do, I've got, I think I've got a chassis here that I wanted to because one of the things that is spoken about in the kit, and that's you get a new chassis, and this is the in the old E3 you got the Matthew Mead, welcome along, sir. You got the carbon as standard. Well, everyone went over to the Ali chassis. They say there's a change in the chassis, and when I was looking at the pictures in the manual online, I couldn't quite see what the big differences were. So I thought that would be good to talk about and see the comparison there. So there's the new chassis. I'll open the box up in a minute, but I think it'd be good to just review what differences there are in the chassis. And I think when you look down face value, you can see that there's really not that much difference. And what I'll do is a bit like Blue Peter, try and make it a little bit easier for you to see the differences in the chassis. I mean, this is not your average freaking feed, is it? These are the two different chassis. You got this one on the left hand side or the right hand side, depending on how you look at it, is the new one. This is the old one. So the big changes in the chassis are you've got a hole up the front here, or yeah, you've got a hole up the front here that you haven't here. Now I believe, and don't quote me on this one as yet, I believe this is where you're going to be attaching the mass damper, and there is going to be an opportunity, I believe, that you're going to be able to attach the mass damper to the rear as well. So those are that was the most obvious change that I saw to start with, and then I looked a little closer still, and we can see that the holes here are slightly different. This is the new chassis. Let me just do that, just so you can all see. Hey, new, old. Even though it's upside down to you probably anyway. So yeah, so the holes here, these are differently spaced out compared to here. There's a bigger gap between. I can't remember what that post is for, to be fair. Oh yeah, that's the damper post, isn't it? No, it's not. That's the damper post. I don't know what that one is. But anyway, the holes are spaced out. And as far as I can tell, that is the only difference. If you then put the two chassis on top, you can see that lengthwise and footprint is exactly the same. Let's turn it up the other way. All the other holes match up. So look, all the holes match up. The only ones that don't match up are these ones down the middle. So fundamentally, the only change in the chassis are the locations of these holes and that extra tongue on the front for the mass damper. Let's see who's out there. Stu Barber. Stu, honestly, I'm so glad you're here, man, because it's really important that you are picking up. Stu Barber likes to glue things. So at the moment, as you can see on the table, I've got nothing in terms of glue, but that might come up later. Dave, where is the mass damper fitted on the rear shoe? I believe, and hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn here, that the mass damper is there's gonna be another part that's going to come out later on down the road. So we will find out about that at a later point. Mark, icon dampers are shorter. As far as I'm aware, Mark, no, they're not. I've got an icon, and the oh, you're talking about the side dampers, or you're talking about the mass damper? The icon is a completely different car, so I'm not quite sure the relevance in the comparison between this car and the icon. But that's another change, obviously, which we'll come on to in a minute. So that's the biggie with the chassis. I think that was really the something that caught my eye, because I think anyone that owns one of these cars, you're always going to think about, well, should I keep the E3 and just upgrade to the should I keep the E3 and mod it to go to the E4, or am I going to go and buy a brand new kit and get the E4 itself? So the chassis was a biggie on the page. Let's take some thoughts out there. John Simpson, think that was in reference to the whole position down the center as a center. But okay, right, okay. So the dampers from the icon that is now being used on the E4, which is what you're referencing, are longer. Yeah, fine. Yeah, okay. Didn't know that, but I assumed that whole obviously change was for the accommodation of the new mass dampers. But of course, you know, it's the same old kind of box of bits with a Schumacher. Being completely honest, it's always immensely underwhelming opening up one of these boxes. I don't quite know what I'm after, but it's obviously, as we all know, it's just a big box of bits. So I'm just going to take all of those out. Now, I would have been able to show you the new wheel. Unfortunately, Schumacher sent me 10 packets of GT12 rear wheels instead of 12 scale. I did order correctly, they were just packaged incorrectly. So I can't show you the rear wheels today, which is a bit of a shame, but that's one of those things. So let's go through the back of the box here and what they're claiming is updated and new. So the alloy chassis we've talked about, a refined top deck shape with slightly increased flex in end section. So a refined top deck shape. Let me just go and get my E3. Hideously underprepared. You wouldn't get this on Steve Donald's channel, that's for sure. So there's my E3, and let's see what they're claiming is a change in the top deck. So we've got our usual big bag of carbon. Well done, you, Mark. So Mark is claiming that he retrofitted some dampers. I've been there. I think that's quite an interesting topic. That when I was running the X12, the X-Ray X12 at the Euros, at the Worlds actually, there was, with total respect, there was Matlax, Hagberg, bloody Dremlin bits off here and Dremlin bits off there and all that kind of stuff, trying to make the car work. And I have 100% been there with all of that bits and pieces of Dremlin this and Dremlin that and trying this and trying that. Do you know what? I am so over that now. I just want to get a car, build it, put it on the track, go race it and get faster and concentrate on my driving and let people like Andy Murray, Ollie Payne, whoever else is out there designing these cars, Alex Hagberg, let him think about Dremlin shit and all that kind of stuff, and just keep on top of my car maintenance. And so, Mark, great, good on you for retrofitting dampers, but I'm done with that. I'm not that fussed. Mardave or the Mardave podcast. What does that mean? Chris, not quite sure what you're referencing there, sir. So there's the side links of the new car. So let me take these carbon bits away. And they say there is a slightly changed shape of that. Yeah, so that, yeah, so yeah, well, it's minuscule. Since it's a proper kit review, it'd be good to properly review it, right? So I'll start unbolting bits of shit and let's compare it. Why not? It's not like we're in a lockdown or anything, is it? I got a really cool bit of kit as well, wheel arch covers that have come out this week from Moody Falls. If you hate cutting arches with a blunt compass cutter like I do, I would thoroughly recommend you staying tuned for the review on that. So this is the new side, the top deck, and this is the old one. So the change on that bit of carbon is down the front here. How can I best show you that? So this part here that's the difference between that's the old one and that's the new one. So the only bit of change there is just a slightly different kink there, which I guess will change the flex. There's no reason why they would need to do that. I guess that they've come up with some reason why they wanted to do that. So that's the new and the old. I'm going to make sure that the old goes with the old. Still fairly new in my books. So that's that bit. Then it tells big bore side and center dampers. Now, these I've seen on the Icon, and they're really very good. You can squirt the old the oil into the damper, and it, instead of those little ruts, do you remember, you know, in the damper you used to have to sort of wrap it around? Well, now you can just squirt the oil down the center, and like the front kingpin, they'll fire out these holes, which give you a much better coverage of the damper. That's a really good improvement. So I really like that. In terms of length, I think we can see by the positioning of the holes on the center of the chassis that obviously the center one is a little bit longer. So that's obviously something that is quite a bit different. And you know, what's the difference between those bigger dampers and smaller dampers? Well, I would think that how the damper itself is behaving is going to be quite different. So, you know, that's a new point to try. I think. Let me just go back to some questions on the thing. So something to be said for just leaving it alone if you don't know what you're doing. Yep, totally understand it. I would say that I don't know what I'm doing. You're probably right. If that's what you're intimating. I think most of us don't know what we're doing, being quite honest. I've put up 3 videos just recently on a variety of bump steer, roll centers, roll moments, and I've got an Ackerman coming up this weekend. Nobody's ever explained bump steer in any way, shape or form to me in the way that I've learned it over the last few days. So I think none of us have that big a clue, unless you're Chris Wilkinson, on how all this stuff works. So I'm learning along the way. So I just don't believe that just jamming on a couple of extra dampers is going to find you a huge gain. And of course you then roam, or you move outside the window of what everyone else is doing, which it can be a bit of a black hole. Yes, lower picture was the new one. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, if you look back in the video, Chris, you'll see it. Masa, the setup animation video is great. Thank you very much. Much appreciate the feedback, and hope that we can all learn something from them. I know I am as I'm going through. And any requests on anything you want me to cover, I'd very, very happy to do that. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that too. Thanks for the positive. So we've covered the alloy chassis, the refined top deck. We've covered the big bore shocks, the dampers. Now we're getting onto the real thing that's probably taken the world by storm. Revolutionary solid rear axle using the single nut wheel fixing, along with quicker wheel changes, which is, as to be said, nobody likes undoing 6 things when they can only undo 2 things. Quicker wheel changes and easier use. The rotating and unsprung mass has been significantly reduced, offering better performance even when compared to the old solid axle. Well, that's great. And what I will do, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to build this car. I might do it live, I might not do it live, depends if people have got actually a bit of time on their hands to watch me build a car. It'd be good to actually weigh the difference between the two, because I think I know certainly what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I'm not going to have both of these cars up and running. I'm going to take all the electrics out of my E3, and then I'm going to build my E4 and compare them for weight. So we've got a little bit of stuttering on the screen there, and hoping that disappears. So here's the new nut or single bolt nut that goes on the end of the axle, which is all very different to us. As I say, can't show you a wheel, unfortunately, but that's what it looks like. It's quite cool. It's going to be very different for us all. And how it all locates onto the obviously the wheel is through the hex that is now on the end here. This hex is now locating into the wheel, and so that's a big change, one that I'm sure lots of people have got sort of raised eyebrows over, because of, I think it's quite a canny idea. They've effectively locked people in, haven't they, to Mark, you haven't upset me at all. 100% not upset me. Obviously, they're a bit of a canny idea to lock people into using the contact tyres, but of course you have got the option to use the old axle on an old car to run the old wheels. Obviously, the new wheels have got, so Andy says 18% lighter. I believe that's the correct number. So that is obviously going to be a bit of an advantageous gain. So we've done the rear axle, rear wheel design, allowing. Well, I can't show you the rear wheel design, unfortunately, so we haven't covered that. Stronger pod base, helping to remove any twist in the rear pod. Well, I don't know how I'm going to quantify a stronger rear pod. Maybe I'll cover that when we get closer to the pod and building it. So we haven't covered that. Front beam, improving front end flex characteristics. Again, difficult to quantify how that is going on, so I can't show you any more on that. Front beam socket using O-ring fixing system to allow easy building and replacing. So the front beam has now got O-rings on it. So let me take that out of the way and get to the manual. Drawing on the box, filthy animal. Well, nobody will want. I'll sign it if you like. That's drawing as well, but nobody will want my kit anyway after I've smashed it up. So let's have a little look through here. Some O-rings on the front end. Okay. What part are they suggesting? So the lower beam got a couple of O-rings in there, which I don't believe were there before, which allows you to. Yes, okay, gotcha. I got it. So just happen to have an old front beam. Well, it's not an old front beam, it's just come fresh out of a packet. And this is the new front beam. So the old front beam, these O-rings and ball joints here were pre-installed. So now Stu Barber, what he likes to do is he likes to glue O-rings on. So this is really the gluing point that you'll have to fit them in. So I don't know why they've done that. What was it they said on the box? So the reason for doing that, I'm just going to go back here. Fucking hell, I'll tell you what, after I've taken all this shit out, my car hasn't got bits missing. I'll be very surprised. So the reason why they said front beam socket using O-ring fixing system to allow easy building and replacing of individual parts. Now, I don't know about you, but that's easier to build without having to glue O-rings than that. But I get the point that obviously the bits that you now can replace are a little bit more easy to access. I can't say, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced it, I can't say I've ever broken one of these ball joints in here without smashing up the lower arm. I did one of those at MB Models. So that's the change there. I'll pop that back in my box. Going through these new changes like wildfire, like absolute wildfire. We've got 31 people watching. Amazing. So that's great. That's that done. Kingpin with improved suspension action due to a new surface finish. The stiction from full droop vastly reduced. Yeah. So when you bolted it all together, and it sat like that, and then you pressed it down, that filthy stiction that you used to get with the hub on the bottom of the Kingpin, that was disgusting. So hopefully by the that's improved as well. I think that generally this car is a facelift. As we all know, it's not a new car. It's a facelift car, and I think when you go into it with having that sort of mindset, I think that's a better understanding or better way to go about it, rather than thinking that why have I not got a brand new car. So we just talk about drawing on the box, filthy animal. Fair point, John. Mark said, didn't Tamiya do rear hex thing on their F1 car years ago? Might have done. Not really my bag, Tamiya, but maybe it is for you. Stu Barber says, do glue O-rings. Stu, you can do anything because you're a legend. Mark says, interesting to have equal flex in the spokes of the wheels without having the 3-bolt finishing. Would it give that much more rear grip? Well, rotating mass, 18% lighter. It sounds like it does. Dave, you don't glue the U. Chris, Stu's being funny about the gluing of the O-rings. Mark, they have put a slight step on the bottom of the pan, also Teflon coated. Well, why do I need to do a review when we've got you, Mark? So let me have a look for the O-ring, the Kingpin. Let me get my box here and put a few bits and bobs back in as we go, so I don't lose everything, because I am frightened that I am going to lose bits and bobs along the way. And I found something, actually, it was Andy Thompson that pointed me in the right direction. And this is an absolute stealth trick, this. So these gold inserts that go on the bits of carbon, or that pull into the bits of the carbon. I'm sorry about the picture, lads, if you're seeing that. Let me just see if I can change that. Just 1 second, because that's really annoying. That is really yeah, doesn't look like I can. I think it's on my. Just do this. See if that's going to help us at it. Anyway, so yeah, so there's you can get these black inserts. Switch it on and off. You get the inserts, the brass inserts that go into the carbon. You can get black ones, which will be a little bit lighter, and you haven't got gold brass on your car. So that's quite cool. I tell you what I'm gonna do. Well, I think that pretty much, apart from the kingpins, which I can't find. Where are the kingpins? Unless they've changed colour as well. Listen, that's really off-putting and really annoying, and I'm sure that's frustrating the hell out of you guys. I am going to log off and come back on again and see if I can remedy that. So those of you who want to find out about a few other bits and pieces, be right back in 30 seconds.